What does world-class real estate look like to you?
Is a commitment to excellence when it comes to service.
It's do what you say you're going to do.
Estate agency that is delivering a really high level of service, customer service, a really high level of property marketing.
Being an all-rounder with regard to digital marketing as well.
Great agency belongs to personal agents operating in an entrepreneurial way, using tech, but keeping that personal touch and delivering first-class services for their clients.
Everything from service to marketing.
It's about bringing the absolute most that you can bring in any moment.
Really knowing who you are, knowing your lane, being really clear on your proposition and what makes you stand out, and then delivering that message relentlessly.
A special thanks to our sponsors, Iceberg Digital, for sponsoring this week's episode.
Hi everyone, this week we've got a special episode of the World Class Real Estate Podcast. I've got a special guest, someone that I've personally worked with, I think it was about 18 months, maybe 20 months ago. Coach Dimitri is a performance coach, not just around nutrition, but also around life hacks. And I was fortunate enough that we're filming today in the Avocado HQ. And I thought, why not take advantage of his presence? He was kind enough to share some value on this week's episode. And I think estate agents out there will take so much from this. We're going to be covering things like energy slumps, a little bit of mind fog, if you get a little bit of brain fog, testosterone levels, caffeine addictions, sleep habits, morning and evening routines, effectively every way that you could be the best version of yourself, or at least improve the version of what you are today in terms of your performance, your energy levels, and how you function as an estate agent in the office and in your working environment. As I said, I am tried and tested as a case study of Coach Dimitri, and it's something that has definitely impacted me over the last 2 years on how I perform on a day-to-day basis, not just in estate agency, but in my personal life as well. So I thought it would be a great episode that I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of value from. There's going to be a lot of trade secrets that you can take away and use totally for free from obviously listening or watching this particular podcast. And I'm going to try and do it all without the help of Mark, my normal tried and tested sidekick. So let's get stuck in and get Dimitri on the show.
Dimitri, welcome to the World Class Real Estate Podcast. How are we feeling? How are we doing?
Incredible. Energized, enthusiastic, and yeah, just keen, man. I feel good.
Good. Yeah. Well, we had a good gym session this morning. We've done a podcast ourselves, so we're warmed up. We're ready for the business end of this. This is obviously a podcast for estate agents. I've got you on because you are very much a performance coach, very much someone that really wants to deep dive into making sure that people can be the best version of themselves that they can be. Estate agency is very, very, it's hard work. It's long hours. It's not a 9 till 5. I think people sometimes don't appreciate that with estate agency, that we don't often switch off, and we do the weekends. So that the downtime is limited. And that has an impact on the body. I've seen it firsthand. And I know a lot of other agents that have seen it firsthand. And there'll be a lot of agents out there that are watching and listening now that struggle with that side of things, is that balance, that work-life balance. It's a phrase that doesn't really exist in estate agency. But you understand that because obviously if we go back to the origins, you had a little stint in estate agency, didn't you?
I did. And you also had a stint in fitness.
Yes, a bit of overlap there.
So I don't know if it's these two industries by coincidence, but I do see that happen a lot with some crossover between fitness and estate agency, maybe the sales side. But yeah, nonetheless, that is how I started. That was my first professional gig at like 18, 19, something like this.
You learn a lot in that. As an 18, 19-year-old, like estate agency is I think it's a good life skill.
I agree massively when it comes to just sales and everything like this, talking to people. Yeah, absolutely. But then because maybe to go one step back, because of my upbringing, I valued health more. And I made the decision at that point that in order to value health the most, that couldn't exist within the work that I was in. Because, for me, the hours of like the 8 till 7 and things like this, I'm not judging it or whatever it is, but I just chose health and I had to go a different route, which was to go into personal training. And then with the pandemic, that shook that industry up a lot. Keyword personal training and pandemic don't seem to mix very well. So I had to then go into more working remotely with people. And it's like, well, how can I still have a massive impact on someone? Like a transformation, a change remotely. And that was when I then studied with Precision Nutrition, the American company, which is well known for high performance nutrition coaches. And that was the main way to get incredible impact with people, because what you eat is you are what you eat. You know, it's cliche, but it's true. And so my origin story of my mother, when I was, I think I was 10 or 12, when she survived but was diagnosed with cancer. Something about that realization, like you're just growing up, you're just being a kid, but then you're like, you have received the odds or the chances of if they're not going to be here anymore. And there's something...
You kind of understand that life is not limitless at that point, don't you? Because it slaps you in the face, I'm guessing, yeah.
It's not just a sweet dream, you know, and like, so you have to... There's a realization about that. And then when you realize that it's not infinite, you realize that there's factors that influence how high quality that life would be. And you start to become aware of what those factors are: movement, nutrition, authenticity, which means not suppressing who you are, because that has a massive effect on your physiology. And I noticed that, you know, every parent has their own limitations and things like that, but I noticed that that line is going to break with me. And so, yeah, man, I started meal prepping for myself. Maybe not 14, but at 15, I started meal prepping for myself, cooking, you know, like everything. The turkey dinosaurs were out the window. You know, pasta, vegetables.
They taste so good, though, don't they? They do. Those turkey dinosaurs with alphabet potatoes and some beans, like, you know,
elite.
Take me back to those days.
Elite nutrition.
No, that's great to get that background and why that makes sense. It's interesting that you said a state agency potentially couldn't fulfill as a career for you to also balance out the health, performance, the gym and the nutrition aspect of things as well. I always say it's really difficult for an estate agent to also be a parent that's current and around, I think, because of the hours. And and it is changing. The landscape has changed now with self-employed agency and things like that, but they're still doing the hours. They never switch off. At least when you're employed as an estate agent, you work the office hours, maybe you text a few clients out of hours, but you switch off when you switch off. Whereas a self-employed agent, it is 24/7 in reality. So if we're looking at those, you know, high performers, those people that are interested in being the best version of themselves, you know, they're hitting late 20s, 30s, 40s, early 50s, a lot of people in the estate agency game that are right at the top of their game, but they're now starting to feel that drop in energy, and they're starting to become aware of their health and where they've maybe not sacrificed, but they've ignored the nutrition aspect of things because they've just been on that hamster wheel of just go, go, go. What would you say, as someone that knows the industry a little bit as well, would be, I guess, a couple of things that they could do very quickly to just bring some awareness to being a better version of themselves? What are the kind of fundamentals of the last 5 years that you've learned that, you know, that day-to-day life office environment as well, could be supported by just making a few quick changes here, or thinking about a few quick changes here?
Absolutely. That's a great question. A saying, that quote that comes to mind for me is, life will present you with people and circumstances to show you where you can become a better version of yourself. And so just to quickly go to the origin, the mother situation, that was people of my mum and circumstance to show me where I could up level. I gained something from that. Although it was painful, I gained something from it. Then in 2022, I had another challenge, which was, how coincidental, someone who grew up seeing their mother in that situation, then dedicated their life to health and wellness. And then in 2022, in the COVID time, gets diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. For those who don't know what autoimmunity is, it's basically where I don't know, let's just say you get something lodged in your skin, like a debris or something. Your immune system attacks it because it knows that that thing is not meant to be in you, right? So with autoimmunity, that happens to your own body in some location. It could be the brain, it could be joints. For me, it was something called Crohn's disease, right, in 2022 of May. And that was where the body treats your gut as if it's not yours, and then attacks it and inflames it, and basically it doesn't function so well when that's happening. So life presented me with a circumstance to up level again even more and go to a different level with health. And so if someone's not where they want to be with their health right now because they're working so much, they are being presented with a circumstance that is not so satisfactory, and they have an opportunity to become the best. Because, not to get morbid, but one of those top regrets at the end is, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I'd spent more time with family. But that's not to guilt anyone if they're doing that right now. There's seasons, and I trust that they have an opportunity to make that better in the future as the architect of their life. And so one of those things is you have to take stock of where you're at and make the improvements to your health, because to me, that is the ticket, that is the access of living life in just HD or in 4K. And what I mean by HD or 4K is the quality that you have access, right? Picking something up, playing with the kids who are obviously, much shorter than you, you have to get down. Are your knees hurting? Is your back, Do you feel like when you're walking out with the family, are you looking for somewhere to sit down? Is that like in your mind already? And so to answer your question, what are some of those things? There's a lot of noise out there on social media and in the world around quick fixes, right?
Everyone wants a silver bullet, don't they?
Yeah. Estate agents, though, have a unique thing, I think, in this industry where there is a strong motivation and awareness around money, right? Which is cool. So in the same way you become aware of your bank account, I know many agents that tell that, because I've worked with many agents, they tell me like part of their morning routine is check their account every morning. So we should also look at our account of what we're eating on a daily basis, awareness of that. And so there's various tools out there. MyFitnessPal is probably the most obvious one to start to give a look at what you're currently eating on your nutrition. If you don't work with a coach, if you're not going to get anything else, at least the MyFitnessPal, you're going to have some guidelines, right? And if we look at calories as spending, you're going to start to get an idea of that if you start scanning some labels and things like this. This is like, if you're not getting help, that's a great start. The other thing is the most unsexy but most necessary part is looking after your sleep. There's just no other way. Your brain has to filter gunk out from the day of memory and processing, and your body has to repair so that you're repairing more than you're breaking down. Like the balance is more towards repair. And so I know that we did some stuff for you back in 2024, I believe.
Yeah, it must have been.
And you still do something around sleep with that now, which is like blocking blue light, for example. Blue light is something that keeps your brain active and suppresses something called melatonin, which is your body's repair sleep hormone. So without getting too much into the science and things like this, having a pair of blue light blocking glasses, which I'm not affiliated, I'm not sponsored in any way, but blockbluelight.co.uk, you can get a pair of glasses from there.
Yeah, they are incredible. Like the influence, the impact they have, I should say, is drastic.
Light is like a pollutant, so it blocks your repair. So it's like a pollutant, right? So it blocks the repair in that sleep hormone melatonin. Wear the glasses. That's one easy thing you can do. Then you also have to maybe have a conversation with your partner. Like I've had to have a conversation with my partner. It's a beautiful conversation. And it's like, wait, what do we want to create here with the Netflix in the evening, right? Are we watching a couple episodes because we think that's how we need to decompress for the day, right? And just like take our mind off of everything. Or is there something else we can do? Can we get into like a Headspace app and do a little meditation together in the evening? Can we get into like some Wim Hof and do some like breath work in the evening? And then we're like, oh, actually, I don't need to watch 2 episodes of Netflix because the wind down, I am now wind down, and we can choose what we want to do. Can we do something with the family? Can we play some, Uno? Can we play something interactive? That's reducing screen time and stimulus. And I can't tell you, even the most decorated entrepreneurs and business owners, they're still like, yeah, we watched like 2.5 episodes of Netflix last night. And so I went to bed at like 11:30. I'm not judging it. I'm just saying that you have to choose if you're just being passive or what type of energy you want to have the next day, because the next day starts the night before.
Yeah, I think that's a real key fact, is getting people to understand that the next day
starts with the evening before. I think when we were working together, we focused on 3, 2, 1 before bed. And it's kind of like
good memory, man.
Yeah, it's because it's become a habit. You know, that's the great thing about, you know, having someone like yourself come on is it's stuff. I'm a good case study for, you know, the good work that you do with people. And 3 hours before bed, I will try and make sure I'm not consuming anything. You know, I'm not eating anything. So I like to eat my evening meal with my kids early, 5:30, 6 o'clock, something like that is kind of normally where I have dinner. And then the only other thing that I'd probably have is like a night shake, or maybe some, if I felt like I needed to get the calories in, maybe some Greek yogurt and some berries or something like that, just as sort of a sweet feel if I felt like I needed a top up. But from 7 o'clock, like that's it. I'm done for food. Like it's not going in. Maybe a drink and some, you know, a sort of night drink or something like that, potentially some chamomile tea or whatever it may be. But no food goes in, and then absolutely no work. Try and make sure that the phone is on kind of do not disturb, 8:30 around that sort of time. 9 o'clock absolute latest. I'll just make sure that there's no interaction on the phone. Definitely the laptop's not out. And then the blue light blockers, you know, kind of just making sure that the devices, the screen, the artificial light is not polluting, you know, the need to go to sleep at that point. And that's pretty much that evening routine. And I think what that gives me is I struggle with deep sleep, REM sleep, you know, at a good level often if I don't follow the right process. So I can commit to doing an 8-hour sleep, but is it good sleep? But what that does is that sets me up for good sleep. So I don't need to wake up in the morning and drink a jug of coffee or, you know, whatever it may be with getting the caffeine in, because you wake up and you feel more tired than when you went to bed. You shouldn't feel like that. They're the things that have helped me wake up in the morning. You know, I guess you get it as the phrase, oh, I'm a morning person, or I'm not a morning person. Is everyone a morning person? They're just doing the night wrong, or is some people just different? I don't know. What does that phrase kind of bring to mind?
Maybe, just maybe, there is people who are night owls because of their like mental performance or something. They get waves of creativity in the evening. And most humans actually do get a wave of creativity where cortisol drops off around 6-ish p.m. but melatonin hasn't fully kicked in yet. So their stress hormone is lowest, but their sleep hormone has not really kicked in that much. Yeah. So they're pretty chilled, and a lot of creativity thoughts can come through at that time. That doesn't necessarily mean you're a night owl. Humans aren't nocturnal. We're what we're called diurnal, which means that we have a body clock in there, right, in our brain, and that is tuned to work with light. There's a reason why you have more testosterone in the morning as a man, and as a woman too. You actually also do have the same, with just a much lower amount. You have more energy in the morning. You have more decision-making power in the morning. Your body digests your meals, and your blood sugar is going to be almost double as better regulated in the day versus if you eat at nighttime. So it's just that simple, that we are not separate to nature. And the more that we can honor that and be in alignment with nature, which there's some rules there around sleep, around nutrition, around timing, which I'm sure we'll get into, is huge. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. It makes a lot of sense why there is sometimes those creative kind of forces that happen at that time. Let's get back on the morning stuff then. So we spoke about sleep. There's a little bit of night habit there. What in the mornings, this was a big part of when we worked together, was looking at that first 90-minute window, if you like, you know, looking at that window to set the day up. And you mentioned about looking at your money bank or your food intake bank, but there's also an element of your energy levels as well, and your battery. So just talk me through, you've got the 10 out of 10 version because of what you do for a living. Let's take the estate agent is currently at the 3 out of 10. They wake up, they know they want to hydrate, so they have a drink of water at least, and they know they need to probably have some fuel, so they have some version of breakfast. So we'll put them at 3 out of 10 before they go to the office. What's a 6, 7 out of 10 morning look like for someone that wants to just 2-3 times improve their morning routine?
Great question. Body clock, nutrition, hydration. Body clock, we're diurnal, not nocturnal. So I, with clients, view light as a source of nutrition. That might sound weird, but nutrition is information in the body. So it's something that nourishes the body, that contains information, and light contains information. It tells your body how to regulate its energy, because you spoke about energy, right?
Yeah.
So light is free. It's a free instruction for your body to be energized at the right time. Jet lag, think of jet lag. You're energized at the wrong time and you're tired at the wrong time. Most people are in a minor jet lag because of the lack of access to natural light that is not through a window in the morning. So when you access natural light within 60 minutes of waking up, right? Not within 60 minutes of getting out of bed, because that might be 15 minutes later, but within 60 minutes of that alarm or whatever it is going off, getting natural light, and ideally even much earlier than that. I aim within half an hour. And I live in a flat block, so I don't have a garden, but I go out to the front of the flat block. And so what that means is on a sunny day, you're looking at 3 to 5 minutes of natural light into the eyes. I'm not looking at the sun. I'm not trying to burn my eyes.
Yeah.
But I am looking in the direction of that. It's called sun gazing. What that's going to do is, without getting into evolution too much, primal animals, before we had eyes that picked up color and picked up the environment, they were more like sensors, right? And when light came into the sensors, which are now eyes, that would activate the body to behave in a particular way, which would, the cortisol, the energy, time for mating, hunting, etc. But our eyes still have that function alongside with being a sense that lets us see the beautiful world around us. So when you get access to that light, 3 to 5 minutes on a sunny day, or closer to 10 minutes on an overcast day, that's going to activate that ancient circuitry. Increases dopamine. Dopamine is go after it to get a reward. Go do a hard thing. Persist. Ancestrally, hunt and gather, right? That's the morning comes. That's when it's time to do that.
Yeah.
And so business is just another form of hunting and gathering.
Yeah, of course.
And so access to that light. There's been times where I get busy mornings, although I design my life. I'm busy anyway, but I mean busy mornings where it throws out that routine. If I got like a meeting or somewhere to go to, I'll park in the car park. I'll get there like 5 minutes early and I'll just stand outside the car and I'll take in the light from where I am. If that's at like, the 60 minutes post and I have to be somewhere immediately after getting up. That's quite rare. So light is the first thing, right? We spoke about body clock. The other thing for body clock is heart rate. Elevating the heart rate is again activating that hunting and gathering circuitry. And we're talking for as little as 5 minutes. There's plenty of apps. I mean, I'm sure if you type in on the App Store, 7-minute workout, 5-minute workout, or even online on YouTube, 5-minute workout, 7-minute home workout, it's going to take you through some stuff that you can see if that's safe for you, depending on where your body's at and things like this. Activating that heart rate early, massive for energy. Right? You're moving your immune system around because of the blood flow and the circulation flow. You are already creating some endorphins, which is even more dopamine, even more epinephrine. People have got 5 minutes for some burpees, some lunges, some push-ups. If you have a gym session scheduled, cool, even better. So I do like a fast-paced mobility flow because I like to do two things at once, which is get the heart rate up and also stretch and
loosen
move.
the body up. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's on the body clock side of things. When you get the heart rate up early in the morning, that's also one of the top advices for managing jet lag is the light and getting the heart rate up, because that's going to get the body to start your body clock, boom, action at that time. And it's going to know, around 14 hours later to start to wind everything down. So that's a trigger.
And obviously you can do that easily by doing both, right? You can pop out to your garden or your porch or your balcony if you're in an apartment, or to the front. And you can, even in that motion of getting to that place, you've started the moving around, you started doing the thing, haven't you? So
even better.
That's super easy for people to kind of do. What around, let's touch on the fueling, because breakfast, the phrase most important meal of the day, I don't know if it is or it isn't. But
for some reasons it is.
It sets the tone, right? I would say.
Yeah. So after body clock, you also have the nutrition piece. And hydration can come into that too, because that's also information for your body to use. So on the nutrition side, basically just think whatever time you had dinner, 6, 7, 8. If it's 8, come on, try and get it a little bit earlier if you can.
Yeah.
Is that you are fasted, right? From that point of the last dinner and last nutrition intake until the morning, you are fasted. We spoke around how the body is much better suited to consuming nutrition during the day. For example, if you have the same breakfast at 8 a.m., let's pretend it's not a breakfast meal of eggs, it's just a meal. The same meal at 8 a.m. and you have the same meal at 8 p.m. That meal at 8 p.m. is going to be double as worse for your blood sugar because it's late in the evening. So how to break that fast for the first meal of the day?
If you're an estate agent listening to this, I want you to think about something for a second. Are you and your team busy, or are you actually being productive? Because most agencies right now are drowning in admin, juggling disconnected systems, chasing portal leads, and wondering why profits aren't where they really should be. Iceberg Digital have taken a completely different approach. Instead of selling another CRM, they've built what they call an AI operating system for estate agents, combining prospecting, marketing, CRM, compliance, even websites into one connected ecosystem. The goal? To increase your revenue per employee, because the agencies that win over the next few years won't be the ones working harder, they'll be the ones working smarter, with systems that actually do the heavy lifting. If you want to future-proof your agency instead of just surviving the next market shift, go and book a demo at icebergdigital.co.uk. That's icebergdigital.co.uk.
The way to do that for that first meal is to consider, if you've been fasted, what are the most important nutrients to get in? Is it sugar? Is it a croissant?
That's where the dopamine that you spoke about is a hard thing to balance the good and the bad of it, because I know a lot of people that the first thing they're craving is a version of sugar or caffeine potentially as well. And that's the go-to because of that dopamine rush that you get from it. You feel like you must have it because you're drained and not feeling great in the morning, whereas really you should feel the opposite, I would say.
Absolutely. So the most important nutrients is going to be some healthy protein, right? We'll talk about what that might look like in a second. Healthy protein, some healthy fats, and a bit of fiber as well. Okay, for the gut health. Hippocrates, father of medicine, a couple thousand years ago, said the gut is the center of health. Ayurveda, which is an Indian tradition of medicine, for 4,000 years has talked about the importance in gut and that being pivotal. Obviously, that's massive because I overcame Crohn's disease without medication or surgery and in remission and healthiest I've ever been. So there's a lot to be said for the gut. So on the nutrition piece, protein, like I said, fats and fiber. If you feel clearer when you eat less in the morning, because a lot of people skip breakfast for the fasting, I prefer people to fast the other way. So to stop early and fast on the latter half of the day. But if you feel like you want to be clearer, then you can just eat lighter. That could be like a very high quality grass-fed protein source, like grass-fed whey protein. That can absolutely work as well. And then with that, you can also add in like a little bit of MCT oil, which is like a healthy fat. It comes from coconuts. It's a healthy fat. MCT oil, you could add in like 5 milliliters of that. Or you could make a smoothie with that protein. If you don't want to add in the oil, you could add in like half an avocado or a whole avocado. And then it's not sugar like we said. So you could just add like 150 grams of berries. Low sugar berries like raspberries, strawberries, maybe some blueberries too. So that could be a way. Or if you want to eat something cooked, eggs is nature's multivitamin.
Yeah, I always say with an egg, like inside that shell is everything that's needed to create life. Bingo. So how powerful is an egg, you know? And I think there was a study done on kids up to the age of like 6 or something like that, that for a year they had half the kids that didn't eat eggs and then half of the kids that had an egg once a day.
The IQ.
And the IQ was like through the roof for the kids that had the egg versus the ones that didn't. Crazy.
It's incredible. Choline is like a huge part of that. It's a type of fat that is used to make the brain fat. And the brain fat is needed to keep it insulated so all the connections can form. So who doesn't want a well-performing mind?
Exactly.
And so cooked eggs can be incredible with like half an avocado. Spinach is a great one, or like some greens to go with that, because that's really high in magnesium, which is good for the nervous system. And it's also helps with blood flow and circulation in those greens as well. And then ideally some sort of high quality, like one slice of some high quality bread, for example, ideally something more whole grain, something seeded, like some sort of seeded sourdough or something like that. That's going to increase that fiber level so that food is digested slowly and you're not hungry by 9:30 a.m. again.
And I think for people that are kind of worried about feeling like maybe it's too much, I mean, cooking eggs with a little bit of spinach, you're talking a couple of minutes, right? By the time you put the sourdough in the toaster and put it down for 4 minutes or 3 minutes, you pretty much got your scrambled eggs done, right? It's so easy to kind of put it together. But again, with estate agents in particular, because a lot of them have to be, maybe there's a half-hour commute, they're expected to be in the office for 8:15, maybe 8:20, something like that. The rush and the panic is, okay, well, I've got to get up, I've got to train, if I want to go to the gym, or if I want to run, or if I want to go for a walk, I've got to get my breakfasting, meal prep, got to get my suit on, blah, blah, blah. It's quite a lot to do in a short space of time. So kind of keeping it as simple as you can for yourself. Obviously, everyone can get up a little bit earlier. And once you've got up half an hour early, 45 minutes earlier, that's just the time you get up then. So you can make that kind of work, right? What other little morning tricks before you get to the office, or thoughts around the way that can help people set up the day for the best day that they can have?
Absolutely. And it's a great thing about like what you mentioned just before that, about if it seems like too much, doing it gradually absolutely makes sense. 5 minutes for some light, 5 or 6 minutes for some movement, and then 10 minutes for some nutrition, or probably even faster if it's the smoothie option we spoke about. It does require maybe getting up a little bit earlier, or maybe you don't have to get up earlier. Maybe you just, I advise being phone free for the first hour of the morning. Huge effects on your dopamine and your attention span for the day, because how you start is how you mean to go on. So if that's what you're doing, you already have the free time. No judgment there. Just you can change that. But you are all you've got. You have to have your own back. If when you were born, you were given a car, a vehicle, and you're told that's the only one you have for your whole life, how are you going to be looking after it? How are you going to be servicing it? How are you going to be maintaining it? Well, that's your body. You get one. You have yourself. And so I just think it's a good reminder to remember that, because you owe it to yourself, and how someone would look after themselves when they love themselves and recognize there's only one of you and what a valuable individual that you are. It's important to make space for that. And people know that. And I think they just need a reminder. And so how to make that morning impactful, because then you can have a great day, and your life is just made up of a series of many, hopefully great days, and more mixed days sometimes too. The light for the body clock, the heart rate for the body clock, the nutrition, the hydration piece as well. So around 300 to 500 milliliters of water would be like a bare minimum. And then I'm not going to get too crazy into ratios of electrolytes and things like this. There's like cis hydration, there's supplement needs. I don't have like affiliations to any of these. There's like, I think Synergy, or there's a few others like this. Just like one tab of those in 300 to 500 milliliters. It's just keep it simple. It's going to have sodium, it's going to have potassium, and the sodium is going to elevate the blood pressure just slightly, just in a slightly healthy way, which is going to give you a bit of that oomph for that cortisol and that healthy cortisol and healthy drive. And if you do that with the hydration piece, with the caffeine, with the movement, and with the heart rate, I guarantee you're not going to need the caffeine, as soon. You're not going to need it straight away.
Caffeine's an interesting topic, because it's something that I've learned a lot about in the last 2 years, shall we say. And I do speak to people all the time, and they say, oh yeah, I'll have a cup of coffee an hour before I go to bed and I'm fine. And I was just on holiday, and the mother-in-law actually, she'll have 2 cups of tea like an hour and a half before bed, and then half an hour before bed, and she's like, yeah, it's just fine. I'm like, but I'm not sure. The caffeine is such a strong stimulant, and there is such a strong addiction, like we spoke about sugar, such a strong addiction in Western society now around caffeine. Some of the rules that we put in place for me, I still stick to, but were really important. And sometimes I remember, because if I do find that I feel like I need more caffeine, I try and remember that actually I'm doing something that's causing me to lack energy, go back through the rule book and work it out. But people do smash coffees all day, or Red Bulls or Monsters or whatever in a state agency.
I was there.
You've seen it. I've been part of it. And, when the can of Relentless came out, because it was twice the size of the Red Bull, that was the one. Like my office back in the day, it was like, you go down to Costco for 24 cans of Relentless, and, we would pump in 2 or 3 of those a day.
Heart palpitations for all.
Yeah. I mean, we were busy little things. I don't know if we were doing anything well busy, but we were busy. We were high on something. We're just running around. We're just so much energy, just doing stuff. But yeah, if we talk about caffeine, what would you say is your just fundamental, easy IKEA rulebook for the caffeine manual?
Yeah, great question. So if you're doing all the right things, then you are going to have the natural affliction, which is you're naturally supposed to have energy. You're naturally supposed to be all right. So like you said, I must be doing something that's stifling my energy. Okay. So that being said, if you do those the morning formula, if you will, you won't need the caffeine you won't need it at all. But 2 to 3 hours after waking is a fine time to have caffeine. So if you wake up at, 6 or 7, then having it at 9 or 10 is fine. I like to stop 12 hours before my preferred bedtime.
Yeah.
Some people say by midday and things like this, but I'm not an optimizer. I'm a maximizer, which means that I like to take it to the highest level that I can with vitality. And so 12 hours before bed to cut it off is because the half-life of caffeine is 5 to 6 hours. So if I drink an espresso or like a coffee and there's 100 milligrams of caffeine, 5 to 6 hours later, I push it to 6 because I'm banking on making it ideal. There's going to be 50 milligrams of caffeine in my system because it's gone from 100 to 50. And then another 6 hours later, it's going to be down to 25. So 12 hours after the caffeine, it's like I've still taken a quarter of a swig of that caffeinated beverage.
Mm-hmm.
And I sleep fine. I can go to, I'm getting my 8 hours. So quantity, yep. But quality is the other part as well. And it's that deep sleep where testosterone and hormones are made, where the brain is renewed, where the immune system is reteached and renewed on how to function. So cutting off the caffeine 12 hours before your ideal sleep time. So if you go to bed at 10:30, then stopping your caffeine before 10:30. There may be rare occasions where, I don't know, you might be speaking at a big event, but you're not doing that regularly. That's maybe once a month or every few months. Cool. 90% good, 10% of the time, be flexible, but try and stick to that 90. If you need energy, maybe that's a question of okay, cool. I'm not going to have my 10 coffees a day. I'll stop at 12 hours before bed, but now I'm tired, man.
Yeah.
First of all, there's going to be an adjustment period where you reduce caffeine. Your body's going to want that thing that it was having. That doesn't mean what you're doing is wrong, but that means now you've broken that addiction and reliance. That's going to take anywhere between 2 days to maybe 7.
I still live and die by the 12 o'clock process. That's my kind of thing. Is I won't have anything caffeine related from 12 o'clock, and that includes, I don't really drink Coke Zero or anything like that now at all, but even from a Coke Zero point of view, because it's got caffeine in it. Definitely not anything strong like a pre-workout. The only time I would do is if it was on the weekend, I'm doing a long run training and caffeine is a stimulant that I'm playing with for race purposes. And I'll noticeably see that evening as well, that I can't sleep as well. Talking about caffeine, what does it actually do? Because I think it's an educational piece here for people as well. That's what helped me is people think caffeine gives you energy. People think caffeine gives you the ability to perform better, but actually caffeine is more of a blocker of something. Is that right?
So it's not an energy giver, it's a tiredness deleter.
Yeah.
So this thing called adenosine is in the body, and that is like a driver for tiredness. It's like a tired molecule. So when adenosine levels are higher, that means that you have more what's called sleep drive or sleep push, which is where you naturally, you're going to start drifting off and being more tired.
Mm-hmm.
So caffeine doesn't give more ATP, which is the energy currency. It blocks adenosine, which is that tiredness molecule. So adenosine then fits into parts of the brain so that the tiredness molecule, when it goes up, it fits into these receptors called adenosine receptors. And the more of these fit into place, it's almost like tiredness fitted into place.
Yeah.
So what caffeine does is it then goes into that spot so adenosine can't, and it blocks it. And it says, sorry, tiredness can't be experienced right now. So what happens though with chronic caffeine use is the body's like, wow, these tiredness receptors keep getting blocked. So let's just make more so that we can experience tiredness with greater ease because it's not coming through. So let's just make more so we can not have this thing be blocked anymore. So that's where the reliance happens, because over time you then form new adenosine receptors so tiredness can find its way through again.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because people don't necessarily realize that, but what you're doing is you're making yourself inevitably feel more tired until you control it. It goes back to the currency. The more caffeine you put in, you think it's the answer to the problem. You're actually increasing it, because your body needs it, because it needs to rest and recover. You need to go back and think about the other aspects of it. Okay, that's some good value around caffeine. You mentioned it earlier, but I wanted to talk about testosterone. A lot of the circle of a state agency that I'm in, because I very much focus on parents in a state agency, that means that middle tier in life, kind of mid-30s to maybe mid-50s. There's a lot of my contacts, a lot of people that listen to this as well. Let's talk about testosterone, because it's a big, hot topic. We spoke about social media and noise. Testosterone is a big thing at the moment. I'd just love to get your take on what you feel around, the noise that's out there on testosterone, the dropping of it, and also the dad bod that people will be worried about, the energy levels, not being as strong as they were previously, feeling more achy and, kind of a bit of brain fog here and there and stuff like that. Is testosterone, does that have an impact around a lot of what people are feeling there if they put it down as a symptom, shall we say?
For men and women, especially men, still not exclusive to women though, it is the driver of your life force and your drive. So there's been studies where they have like a combat situation with like some padded like combat things where no one's going to get hurt. But to the guys that were administered testosterone in the days before that combat situation, they gave them an exogenous testosterone administration with a shot. They were double as persistent to not give up. So that matters when you want to create shit in your life and you need drive and persistence and commitment. So what's concerning to me is the drop of testosterone way sooner than it should. Like a average 40-year-old has the testosterone of what our 70-year-old grandparents would.
Okay.
I don't like that as an average statistic.
No, it makes you feel old straight away.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess on the bright side, Big Pharma and, ED pills and all these things are going through the roof because people were suffering with low hormone profiles, or TRT clinics, testosterone replacement therapy clinics, are also
huge in America, isn't it?
And here too.
It's coming here now.
And here too. Like I've worked with a lot of guys who came to me on a lot of stuff for testosterone replacement therapy, and we managed to drastically reduce their dose to like 90% reduction to like what's called a microdose when they were, on a lot, because they didn't need it anymore because their levels were able to get to normal. So speaking to we should look at what causes testosterone to drop. right? And what affects that. Because you said with tiredness, with energy, what am I doing that's making me tired?
Yeah.
Or what am I doing that's killing my hormones? Sleep is the big one. You have to treat it like a job, man. You have to choose, what do you want? And I really would invite you to choose the vitality that comes from restoration. Sleep is where testosterone is made. And so all hormones are made for the ladies as well. And so with the sleep aspect, that's why we spoke about caffeine earlier, because it's going to interrupt that factory process where all of that is manufactured.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other part, please, 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 if you have not swapped a plastic water bottle over to a metal stainless steel container, bottle, I should say, please do that. Like if you could just take one action after this, go on Amazon, buy a 1 liter or 1.5 liter stainless steel bottle. Ideally, maybe your workplace would, has a filter. Brita at the minimum, they're like 20 quid. Maybe you could get like a British Berkfield stainless steel one if you wanted to invest a little bit more. But please get a metal water bottle. The microplastics are going to get into the reproductive organs. They're going to inflame, for gents, they're going to inflame the testes. They're going to sit in the testes and dysregulate fertility. So if you want to be a parent, you have to please make that change.
Plastic is that bad a warning. It doesn't get spoken about enough. I do see a little bit of it. Did I see somewhere along the lines like the average Western person consumes a credit card in plastic every year?
Oh, brother, it's
probably gone up since then.
2 credit cards, 3 Amexes of plastic. It's a lot. And so getting rid of that plastic is going to be huge. I have also glass Tupperwares for meal prep. Mm-hmm. So that's also a huge one, because if you're heating your food in plastic, that plastic's going all onto your food. So that's a huge one. Detoxing plastic, this is like a bonus step, a nice to have. Getting rid of it is the first step. Getting rid of it coming in, I should say. Detoxing it as a bonus, the sauna works well for that. So if you have access to a gym or a club for the weekends or sometimes in the evenings, getting up to 60 minutes of sauna time per week, so like 6 10-minute sessions or a few 20-minute ones, is great to detox microplastics out in the sweat. But water and food are the huge ones. Mm-hmm. So you have sleep, you have actual plastic coming in, which is harming your fertility. We have a fertility crisis, which is a problem. And that's because the stuff that makes the kids ain't working so well.
Yeah.
So that has to be worked on. And then the last one is stress. Stress happens as a input, but it's how you respond to that stress. So stress and testosterone have a competition where your body is either going to compete to make cortisol, because it's a thing called DHEA, which is like the thing that can become hormones such as testosterone or other sex hormones for the women as well, or it can become cortisol. So it's like you have a certain amount. Mm-hmm. Which way is it going to go? From the ancestral part, if you're being hunted, if you're being stressed, like ancestrally, the body doesn't recognize that as a safe time to get together and mate.
Yeah, of course, makes sense.
So it's not going to prioritize hormone production for fertility. It's going to prioritize survival, which means, being focused on threats and things like this, which is what cortisol does. Maybe people like that. They like that stress, that go, go, go. Cool. But
it's going to have an impact.
Yeah. That's why it's called burnout. That's why it's called you have apathy. You don't have a drive. Your sex drive, your libido is not there. So managing stress, the best way to do that, anchoring the morning with like a Headspace app, 3-minute, 5-minute meditation, right? Something like that can really help. If you feel like you can't meditate, then you're exactly the type of person that needs to be putting in the reps. Mm-hmm. That person, Wim Hof is an easy one for breath work to clear stress out the body, to move it out of the body. Doing that in the morning, on the lunch break, there's like 3-minute rounds you can do on there, or before bed, like doing that at least once or twice a day with the Headspace app or like the Wim Hof. Again, no affiliation, but these are breathwork tools and stress reduction tools that can help. If you want a pill or a supplement, ashwagandha, somewhere between 7 p.m. to kind of 9 p.m. Make sure it's right for you, but maybe around 600 milligrams of ashwagandha with if you want to get into the details, it's the active ingredient is withalanodes, and if it says 5% of that on there, that's going to be the strength of ashwagandha. You want around 600 milligrams of that, 7 to 9 p.m., going to calm the stress right down. Don't take ashwagandha in the morning because your stress, your go, is supposed to be on then. So like time it with the body's rhythm. If you do those things, you're going to support your hormones. You're resting, you're recovering. It's pretty simple.
It is pretty simple, but I think it is an educational piece. And that's why I'm delighted we've done this podcast for the industry, because me and Mark, that normally would co-host with me, but obviously we're in the Avocado HQ today, we are very much around how we can help the industry get better. And I think there's a lot of really simple, quick wins that people can take from this podcast, but there's also a lot more to it as well. So if people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way to connect? Is it Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn? What's the best place for them to go and connect with you?
Yeah, great question. So they can just go to my website, dimitrichristou.com, and submit a contact form, and they're guaranteed to be contacted within 24 hours. Or they can go to Dimitri Christou Official as my Instagram handle and send me a DM there. Just be like, hey, what's up? I saw the podcast. And I can have a conversation with them. Either I'll direct them to someone else, or I can help them out. You know, I do like a 3 or 6 session thing to just install a system and get them on their feet so they don't need me and they can run it. And Dimitri is Dimitri, and Christou is spelt like Christ, O-U.
I'll put the details in the show notes. And I think as someone that's gone through that process, and it's generally helped me, made me a better agent, obviously from a life point of view as well. So hopefully people have got some great value from the episode. Appreciate you coming on and sharing it. Hopefully people connect with you, and we'll be back next week.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for watching. I'm sure you got loads of value from that. And if you're still with me now, I would imagine it's the sort of episode which you're going to want to take some notes from, probably listen back a couple of times. There's a lot of overwhelming changes that Dimitri talks about on this particular episode. But my personal advice as someone that's gone through the process, and one of the things that he said to me, is create one habit at a time. So if you want to fix maybe the caffeine addiction, which as we spoke about on the episode can have quite a drastic impact, then focus on that one thing. If you want to fix your sleep habits, focus on that one thing. Get the nighttime routine correct. If you want to focus on your morning habits and get that cortisol in control, for me, that's something which I see around kind of like stomach, that tire that a lot of people struggle with in midlife. That's mainly stress and cortisol rather than dietary related stuff. And it's something that if you just build those little habits in, does have a very quick change. If it's fertility, or you're worried about the plastic side of things that we spoke about at the end, just focus on that one thing. Change the plastic stuff to glass or metal. But that would be my advice from going through the process. And I'm sure if you are an estate agent, you've watched, you've listened, you've got a lot of value from that. So as Mark always says, and I'll try and get it right at the end of the podcast, we do this because we love our industry. If you have liked and enjoyed this episode, please do share it, and share it around with your friends, your contacts in the estate agency groups. We're doing this show every single week because we want to see the industry improve. That's my own version of Mark's take. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week.